Flamme Rouge, Black Mirror Bandersnatch, and Tidying Up with Marie Kondo. This is Staying In.
Do people still have New Year's resolutions? Haven't we all grown out of it now that we've realised that time is
here we go.
Fiction?
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Is that bad? Saying that, though, I actually do have a bit of a resolution this year. So
yeah.
I guess
Is it study the tenets of nihilism? Because you're off to a banging start.
It's try to find the point of it all.
Just the 1 point, Sam.
There's only 1 point. Everyone knows that. That's why it's taken so hard to nail down over the years. But no, is that still a thing? Because at New Year's this year, there was no chatter about, what are you going to do, this year? There was none of that sort of back and forward and sort of that passive-aggressive level of competition that kind of goes on at New Year's. So, well, I'm going to travel to, Australia and back.
Well, I'm going to promise to do even more good things than you, even though I won't do them.
I'm going to stop using plastic, all that kind of stuff. Sorry, I'm a little bit grouchy because, well, it's been a stressful couple of days because we've been booking our honeymoon, which hopefully should now be done.
So where are you off to?
So after much soul-searching and we are going to Bali.
Where is Bali?
Bali
Very
is
nice.
In Indonesia. Where they just had that massive earthquake and tsunami because a volcano erupted.
So it's really cheap.
Yeah, and we started off looking at Bali, and then as the weeks progressed, we moved to the Maldives and Mexico and Las Vegas, and slowly we've just come back to basically where we started from. So it's been a bit stressful to get all that sorted.
Well, Bali is meant to be, it is meant to be, obviously it has a bit of troubles, but it is meant to be a really lovely place, isn't it?
If you pay the right money, they'll put you in a nice hotel away from it all.
Oh, man. But it's like a beach holiday, is that right?
Well, we're doing a mixture of two things. So we're staying at two places. So the first place we're staying is right in the middle of the jungle in a little like jungle valley region of Bali, where like the temples are, and there's like a monkey temple nearby. Okay. So we're staying there for a few nights, and then we're going to the beach for the rest of the holiday. So staying in a more like a beachy resort. So getting 2 slices of the honeymoon pie, I guess, is what it's called. But yeah, it's that, and then my dog's ill has taken a bit of the sheen off New Year's. It's gone from everything to just a bit of a scratch to blocked intestines back to meningitis was mentioned today.
Whoa.
But it's just a slip disc in her spine. So
Okay.
That's quite an array.
I know.
That's almost like a spray and pray approach.
I feel like you should
Diagnosis.
complain about the person who said, it's just a scratch.
Well, it's sometimes quite difficult with a dog because it's not like you can go, right, where are you hurting? It's you kind of work from the small up to the big, like cure the small thing, and then anyway, this is all very tedious.
Poppy, look at this ink blot.
Yeah.
What do you see? But do you want to hear my New Year's resolutions, lads? One is to visit a country I've not been to before.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you fancy going halvesies on a trip to Bali?
Cool.
Bring the
Can I
cost
be there
down
when
a
you
bit.
broach that subject with Lisa? I'll carry your bag, sir.
Just show up at the airport.
Talking of that, we nearly did book a resort where we could actually get a butler. And so the butler like makes your reservations for you. If you're on a lounger, they bring you all the drinks and they do everything. And the more we when you initially thought it went, bloody hell, this is in our budget. We could get a butler that could follow us around. And then we realised we were going to Jamaica, and we have 2 middle-class white people going to Jamaica and hiring a butler. Bloody hell!
Like the entire. Just the entire time you'll be looking at each other going like, we made the wrong decision here.
Oh, Sam, you nearly got yourself an Alfred.
or just apologising the whole time, like, I'm really sorry, but we all want another pina colada, so can you go and get us one? I'm really sorry.
Because what you want is like a PG Woodhouse style Jeeves. That's really what you're envisaging is that, which would be stunning, really.
Anyway,
so
Kris.
what's next on the list, Kris?
I want to run at least once a week. I'm not
Right.
specifying distance, just once a week.
All right, just on the spot.
Yeah,
Good.
exactly. Here's an important one for me. Not hitting machines that don't work.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't have a lot of patience with machinery. I have a lot of patience with people, but not machines.
Did you know that's how Jack Daniels died?
What?
Jack Daniels was trying to get into his safe with all of his money, and he couldn't open it, so he kicked it. It gave him a blood clot in his toe, and he died of a hemorrhage.
I mean, I was thinking more my weighing scales in my kitchen, but yeah, it's not as rock and roll as that, is it? Really?
It's not, is it?
Pete, Pete, today you're really taking us on a whirlwind of stories. You really are. Kind of the highs and lows.
I know.
You really are.
I know.
Next time I have a JD and Coke, I'll think about that story.
I'll charge my glass.
Yeah. And I like the way you phrase that story. If it's some sort of famous American parable, like he kicked his safe with all his money in it.
A last one is to meet with you guys at least 3 times this year.
Well, it's definitely going to happen once.
Twice. Sure, it'll happen twice, because, I mean, there's...
Oh, no, twice. Yeah, twice. Yeah. Sorry.
So, yeah, I mean... that's definitely going to happen. That's bump it up to 4, mate. Bump it up to 4.
Yeah, might do that then.
Mine is basically New Year's resolutions, a.k.a. calm the down and relax. So that's really what I'm trying to do. That, and also, somewhat antithetically, climb another mountain. So, like, these two sorts of things. Like, yeah, I'm trying to do much less this year. Much less. And just focus on a couple of nice things that bring me joy. Actually, the joy thing has been like 2018 was hot garbage, I would say. But 2019, like the one phrase that has permeated every moment of it that I can, when I've been really actively thinking about what I want to do and looking ahead to 2019, is the word joy, right? So, like, only thinking about the things that give me joy in terms of, like, the time that I spend doing it, right? I'm not going to do any of these little silly side projects just as a favour for somebody, just because, you know, like, oh, that would be a nice thing to do. No, if it gives me joy, then great. And I also started watching today a TV programme, which Alex has been watching a lot of, and she said, oh, you got to watch this thing. And I can't remember the name of it, but it's on Netflix, and it's this TV program where these two nice Japanese ladies
Tidying Up with Marie Kondo.
That's the one.
Yeah, we started watching that on the weekend. So basically, yeah, it's a program about how to tidy up, and it sounds really banal.
It sounds
as a series.
awful.
Yeah,
but these two nice ladies turn up, and this one of them, what's her name? Marie Kondo.
Marie Kondo. Yeah,
Marie Kondo.
She has this
she
pervades this philosophy
of it. Yeah, she has a philosophy of tidying, right? Which, again, we're only 33, but there's a philosophy of tidying, and I was like, nah, this won't interest me. And I started watching it. I thought, yeah, this idea of like only keep the things that bring you joy, right? It is such a. I've been reading. One of the things I don't really talk about in the podcast is I read quite a lot of haiku, and a lot of that is looped in with the Japanese tradition of Zen, and that also is about thinking about moments of emotions, right? That's what haiku is all about. It's about capturing these little moments, this essence of emotion in a very small amount of writing, and then linking it with a couple of other things to actually make it a proper haiku. And to me, this Marie Kondo, like, it feels like a very Asian way of approaching something like just tidying the house. Like, it definitely comes from that, like, Eastern intellectual tradition of, like, thinking about, like, the spirit in which you do a thing. Like, there's a bit where she, like, thanks the house and thanks objects.
That's it. So for every object you get rid of, you're deciding to give away because you've accumulated so much stuff. She asks you to thank it. There's also very detailed and actually incredibly useful information and infographics on how to fold things. And for those listening to this, they're thinking, okay, this is not the demographic that I thought this podcast would be for. It's really, genuinely, Veronica, my partner, who's a very tidy person anyway, after the episode, we went to our middle drawer in our kitchen, which is, funnily enough, got the weighing scales with my little fist mark dented into them. And she tidied it as per Marie Kondo, and it does something to you internally. It's this idea that a tidy space tidies up the spirit, the soul, for want of a better word, as well. So it's one of the reasons why I always make my bed every morning, just because I feel I'm in a kind of a clearer mindset, that chaos has been turned into something ordered, and that is something that is infectious when you get to the end of every episode and you just see this house tidy.
Because there is this is the thing, and it's not because when before I started watching it, like again, like the Western ideal of minimalism is like everything's tidy. It's very clinical. It feels very like not scientific, but it's certainly sterile. It doesn't have that connection with the self, right? Whereas like and so minimalism to me was always like, oh, that would be a really cool idea, but I could never really get there because it's just an aesthetic. Whereas when she talks about this stuff, it is very much about, well, if you look at a photo and it doesn't move you, why do you have it? Like if it's just lots and lots and lots of photos of things that you don't really connect with, like why are you holding on to it? Because and one of the people in the episode that I watched, it was the one with the baseball cards. The guy,
yes,
a really really beautiful episode. This guy who had lots and lots and lots of baseball cards, and a real collector, right? Something I think that we can all relate to some degree. And he must have had tens of thousands of cards, and he came to the end of this journey where she was helping him kind of think about how this stuff works. And he realised that if I have 10,000 cards, well, that's fine. But if I condense that down to 1,000 cards, well, now suddenly those 1,000 cards, they actually have meaning. Like, the whole collection has meaning, but when you focus it right down, this idea of, oh, well, this is all... like you put all of that emphasis into that smaller collection, and I think that's a really nice way of thinking. And
it's more concentrated.
Yeah, but it's also like a more human-centric minimalism, which is something that I've, really put, the fact that Western minimalism really isn't to do with that. It really appeals to me. It's really, really
interesting.
Interesting.
Well, I'm just thinking, Pete, this would be useful for Dan, because Dan's moving house fairly soon, aren't you, Dan?
You've been doing tidying, haven't you, Dan?
I have. I've been doing a bit. We've been doing a bit of a clear out, and
so
clearing...
which of the 3 pictures of me, Sam, and Pete did you keep, and which ones don't give you that spark of joy anymore, Dan?
Oh, they all give me those sparks. I mean, that's all that's left really in my flat is just pictures of you guys. That's all. That's all it is. No, we were doing a bit of a clear out, and I've got kind of bags of kind of old consoles and games and boxes of DVDs and stuff that over the years, whenever we've done clears out before, I'm like, no, I'm going to keep these. These are great consoles. There was a GameCube, there was an N64, there was a Dreamcast, which I loved. And I just came to, as I was going through it this weekend, I was kind of like, you know what? I'm not going to do anything with these. To be fair, I mean, the one that really stuck for me to get rid of was the Dreamcast. But I realised that the only game I want to play on the Dreamcast is Shenmue. And I now have that on the PS4 and and the new one will be on PS4 as well. So I still have them on Dreamcast. I can sell them. I worked out I could probably get at least 80, 90 quid just for the games that I've got from kind of trading them in. Plus, like 3 or 4 consoles. I've got like Xbox 360, GameCube, N64, Dreamcast, as I say. All those things. It's kind of like really just clear this stuff out. And because I've kind of held on to them for so long, there was kind of a cathartic element to it of kind of, okay, just get rid of them. Don't need them. I've also got like 3 big boxes full of DVDs that I need to go through as well. And I think similar to your point there, Pete, in terms of focusing a collection down, especially I think more so with the DVDs, it'll be a case that I will look at it and I'll say, I've got all these DVDs that are going back. When I was younger, I used to buy DVDs every single week. Every single week, I'd be going into HMV, they'd be selling, I don't know, 2 for £10 or 3 for £20, and I'd be going and I'd spend 30, 40 quid in there buying old DVDs and new films, old films. So I'd be buying Dude, Where's My Car? At the same time, I'd be buying Taxi Driver, and that's the kind of thing I started.
What a great double bill.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, made to be watched together.
My favourite was always going through the pre-owned bin at Blockbusters.
Ooh,
that's a blast from the past.
So I never went to Blockbusters.
Yeah, it's always great. Get those rental only copies.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of going through those DVDs and deciding kind of which ones I want to keep, which ones I will lose, because I will then end up with a group of DVDs that I can look at every DVD and say, yes, if I watch that, I'm going to get something from it. It's not just going to be a film that I'll watch. So
it'll just be a video of your wedding and a few good men.
And that would be good, and I'd be very happy with that.
Are you going to get rid of DVDs of films that you can stream? So say you got a great film, you got it on DVD, but it's on Netflix as well. You're going to get rid of that?
Probably. It depends on the film, depends on how I have it, because obviously things don't stay on Netflix forever. It depends on how likely I am to watch it. So there might be a film like Assassination of Jesse James. I rarely ever see that on streaming services, so I'm going to keep hold of that. Something like Frost Nixon, I love that film. I don't usually see that on TV, so I'd be keeping that one as well. Whereas something like Inception, I might lose that because that does appear on kind of streaming services and stuff like that. Although from the flip side, I've got the Blu-ray, so do I want it in the best quality? Because I don't pay for like Netflix HD and stuff like that. Do I want to keep it because I then can watch it in the best possible format and stuff like that? So there's a lot of questions that float around when you're making these decisions. But I've got a hell of a lot of rubbish.
I just picture Sam that, like, you know, Holly has packed all the kitchen, the bedroom, everything. She's holding Toby, and Dan has just got a DVD in each hand, and he's just his head is going back and forth between each.
Between Matrix Reloaded and Dude, Where's My Car? I don't know.
Easy. Dude, Where's My Car? Keep it.
So, Pete, I'm noticing the bike just behind you there, and it's got no washing on it. So I'm assuming 2019, you're still actively using it for what it's supposed to be used for.
No.
Well, right, okay.
No,
I was going to say it's not ensconced in a hazmat suit, so it's, you know, hasn't been fumigated.
It has not been. There is a honk to it. What?
How do you sit in there with it?
Naked. So, no, I haven't.
Actually, no, to be fair, I've actually thought about this. You've actually made me think about this since our last episode, which upsets me. Okay, I don't
I'm not
understand.
Kink shame you, Dan.
I don't understand. Firstly, why you couldn't just wear underwear.
Because they were damp from sweat. Okay.
And I get that you didn't want to buy a whole load of training gear. So why not just buy underwear that you'd wear in the gym, which kind of would kind of absorb the sweat, so you don't have that issue?
Is there actually gym underwear?
Yes.
Oh, there must be.
Is there?
There must be.
There's absorbent underwear.
It's not absorbent like a nappy, but it's
yeah. Absorbent underwear.
It's like I don't know what the technical term is. Like it's something to do with wicking or something like that.
The new Reebok underpants.
Okay.
Sweat.
Do you get T-shirts that don't that stop you sweating?
Yeah. They wick that away, don't they?
Wicking, designed to trap a thin layer of warm air against the body. So that's to keep you warm.
Yeah. No, but you can wick away sweat as well. You definitely can.
But in the same way that you have T-shirts that prevent you from sweating, because obviously if you wear like a cotton T-shirt, you'll sweat and it'll soak all that sweat up, and then it's horrible and wet and nasty.
Yeah.
So you can have different T-shirts of different materials which don't do that. Same thing for underwear. Telling you, I've got that underwear, so I know what it's like.
But I don't understand. What I don't understand is when I go and work out, I wear my clothes, I sweat in the wash.
Yeah.
Like, what? So why do I need something that's going to absorb all that? Because I'm just putting it in the wash anyway. So
because it doesn't then get gross and smell and horrible.
Or do it au naturel.
Exactly. You've not got that problem.
And you're fine, aren't you? So, yeah, no, I haven't been doing that.
Sound logic.
Sound logic. So, I guess, do you think of Speedos? Anyway, the reason I have not been doing the exercise is, two reasons, really. One, I'm lazy, and two, to get over laziness, and really the real reason that I did any of that exercise last year is, like, goals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, actually having something, like, why am I doing this? Like like there's like the.
Is that what you asked yourself in the reflection of, of your window? Why?
I was, bits of me were slapping against other bits of me, and I was just sort of thinking to myself, like, why am I doing this? Like, what is it that's actually driving me forward to do this?
I bet Alex was saying the exact same thing.
And the neighbours.
And the neighbours. So I always think, like, why am I doing this? What's the point of doing it? It's like, how Marie Kondo says, like, she gives you a reason to tidy. Well, the reason that I was doing the exercise is because obviously I wanted to actually prove that I could do it both to myself and to you guys. So there hasn't been that for a bit, and so I haven't done it because I've just been like, well, I don't need to do 10k today because why?
I think it's for that reason that we knew that we wanted to continue some sort of challenge, some sort of motivation going into 2019, and we asked some members of our wonderful community to come. We got some great suggestions through. We got a great one that we count like calories burnt.
Yes. So we had lovely Alex Holmes, and basically they said, you could essentially, instead of distances, do calories burned, equate the overall goal to eating every single meal at Sam's wedding, and basically, and then no matter the exercise, you can record it and keep the competition going. There we go, competition, key phrase, and basically how much food could Kris eat, and then could we burn that off? And I think the answer is. No, we couldn't do that at all. I think
many have tried.
This is a man.
It'd be like the never-ending story. It'd be like the San Francisco Bridge. We'd be riding, and Kris would just keep eating.
This is a man who was almost kicked out of a gala event where they were serving free food because he ate too much.
This is the guy who, at an event where they were giving out pizza, hunted down the waiters who were giving out the pizza for more pizza.
Kris, at my wedding, right, everything's getting served in bowls that are for the table, okay? For the table. The starter, right, is a sharing platter for the table, Kris.
I like the idea. I like the idea that Kris goes up to a whole hog roast, pulls the whole thing off, and just like wanders around. Like, oh, it's brilliant that they're serving finger food, isn't it? The crazy. So, side note to all of this, which is obviously Alex Holmes sent us this lovely email. He actually started off by saying, "Just catch you up on my podcast from the holidays, and I've just finished episode 68." I was just like, "Oh no!"
So much to go.
When you get to this point, Alex, it gets much more naked and sweaty for a bit. But I'm glad you've caught with all that stuff. Yeah, so that was a very good suggestion.
Yeah, we got one about the point system. You get a point for every exercise that you do, and we could have like jokers. So Kris could say it's double points if you go and do Bikram yoga this week or whatever. And what we have decided to do for 2019 is we decided to push all our efforts into doing something good and doing something altruistic rather than selfishly for our own competition and gain. So, Pete, you found an app, didn't you, called Charity Miles? And the fundamentals of this app is loads of businesses give this app money to advertise their business on this app. But instead of the application itself taking that money for its own reasons and for profit and whatever, it instead gives that money back to charity, which is all really nice. I think it's something like $1 million pot that they've got for the year. And basically it is up to you, the runner, the walker, the cycler, to decide how much that money goes to what charity that you pick. So if you go and walk for a mile, I think if you walk outdoors, it's like 25 cents of that $1 million will go to a charity of your choice, and so on and so forth.
And only for a mile. For a mile, that's actually not that bad.
It's not. So 4 miles is $1.
Easy.
So it's brilliant.
I mean, I do 2 miles every day, just walking to work.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
so
perfect.
50 cents for
Every
a charity. Day. So that's the idea of this year's challenge. We've all downloaded the Charity Miles app. We've set up a specific group. So on the app, you can either just do it individually or you can join a group where all our miles will be added together. And so I think if it's #StayingInPod,
I think it is that.
That's right. If you search for that, you'll find us and you can join our group. So we're all a big Staying In team, and you choose a charity that you want to raise money for. There's loads of different options on there, and then you go. At the end of the year, we'll have, hopefully a good load of members in our team and raise a good lot of money for charity. So
I think what's actually great about it is It doesn't cost us or you anything in order to do it. There's no, you sign up for our profile, but there's no cost to that. And you just download the app and there's no cost to that. And then you run or you walk, which we'd be doing anyway. And the difference is that exercise then gets converted into money for charity. There is literally no downside to it as far as I can see.
No, it's great. And you may find, listener, there might be a little bit of teething problems with the app, but we've been assured by the CEO of the company that's actually due to overwhelming popularity, which is also fantastic.
So I think we're going to do that, and we're going to see how many miles we can do.
Yeah, and I think like last year, we'll update kind of throughout the year, see how we're going.
Yeah.
And all the information we'll also put on Twitter. But please, we'd love it if people could join in and join with us. So that if you can join with us, then we'd be able to kind of see how much kind of people who are listening to the show are actually putting together, and it'd be lovely to know kind of how much money we can raise for charities. It'd be brilliant.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. If we're actually going to set ourselves this goal, the main thing I need to worry about is getting more people on board, so I have to do less.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
You better take the stabilisers off your bike.
Yeah, Pete, because the one aspect that you can't record is indoor cycling.
I know.
This is your idea. We were really struggling for an idea for the challenge. We were really kind of trying to find that little nugget, and then Pete, you found the app, and we all said, "That's it."
So we'll put the deets on the soch, and
We are 33.
I forgot Sam is the most street out of the four of us.
yeah. and Kris will have all the information you need at the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
deets on the soch. And on the down low of this podcast, you'll get more details as well. But charity miles, hashtag staying in pod. This year, the game that keeps my dad busy. I found... right. Before I say
you
this...
You said that sentence very oddly, as if to put quotes around the word game.
Is it video or board?
It's pen and paper.
Ooh.
So...
Is it Hangman?
No, close. So over the Christmas and New Year's period, I've had the joy of being able to play several few new board games that I've not played before. One of them was when I went to go and visit my dad. Now, quick, Sam's dad stories. Right, okay, hang on. So, very briefly.
Go on.
So I went down to my dad's for Christmas and gave him a quick ring before he went down. I went, Dad, we're passing a shop. Do we need to go and get any alcohol or food? And he went, don't worry, I've got all the alcohol. I've got the special cider that your brother's girlfriend loves. I've got wine, I've got gin, I've got beer. Brilliant.
Beautiful. He's on
got
it.
Food.
He's on
I've got food in. And I went to him, Dad, do you remember that Lisa and I don't eat meat anymore? And he went, what? Not even chicken? No, Dad, not eating chicken. And he went, all right, you might want to go to the shop and get yourself something then. So we went to the shop and we came back and we walked into the living room to find out that my dad has got this real Christmas tree in his lounge, but it's so tall, it's just wedged into the corner. The top of it's like bent over, National Lampoon style. And with everything my dad does, the logic is always 100% waterproof.
Yeah.
Because we were just like, oh, that's a big one, Dad. He went, yeah, wedged in at the top. That's not going to fall over. It's like, well,
it's true. It's not. He could not be accused of being wrong.
So that logic extends to the next thing that happened was he was just like, right, do you all want to go and get a drink? We're like, yeah, brilliant, right. I'll go and get a beer, and Lisa had a gin and tonic. My brother's girlfriend went to go and get a cider, and I heard all this laughing coming from the kitchen because my dad had bought 0% alcohol cider.
Oh.
My dad's logic, again, 100% waterproof and sound, was, why would they even make that? I was like, yes, why?
Yeah.
Why? Because it's just apple ties.
Yeah, fair enough, yeah.
If you want to drink Copperberg, then you'll drink Copperberg.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point. Like, there is no like a beer equivalent that is alcohol-free naturally, so you have to have non-alcoholic beer. But, like, what we're talking about here is apple ties.
Yeah.
Or, like...
Or Schlur. So the last thing happened, we were opening up our gifts. My dad bought me and my brother a graphic novel. Open mine up. Open it up. It's Batman Hush. It's like, oh.
Oh, that's nice.
And I had to be honest with him. I went, Dad, you bought me this last year. To which his response was, oh, I thought I did. But anyway, to the point in hand, I love my dad.
Yeah.
We played, where we were down there, one of the Mattel escape room games.
Okay.
So we've played before Exit the Game and Unlock, and we've had brilliant success and love for each very cheap and disposable escape room simulator games. But this is like the big box one from Mattel. So this is like, must be about 20-30 quid. It comes in a massive box. It's still all one use only, but it also comes with like plastic locks and little plastic like key dials and number locks and all this kind of stuff for you to like. It's a lot more tactile than the Exit and the Unlock series has been before. And it was all well and good, but we found out then that, my dad loves a crossword.
Really?
He was. There was one puzzle where we had a crossword, and he was there the whole, like, you've got an hour to escape.
Stand aside!
And it took him the entire hour. He was just there with his crossword. And, like, we were just waiting there for him to solve it because we needed, like, one last clue to get. He's like, nearly there, son, nearly there. But as an experience, I genuinely wouldn't recommend it. I think the Exit games, especially, and Unlock have that corner of the market covered. And I think it's a bit, to get down on it a bit, I think it's a bit of a waste what Mattel have done, because there's so much in that box, so much plastic and so much waste that you're making, and money that people will spend thinking it's Mattel and it's a quality product, when really there's better things out there. But the true best game, new game that I played over Christmas and New Year was Flamme Rouge. Thank you, Mr. Kris, for bringing this, peddling its way into my heart.
And to be honest, Sam, both you and I have wanted to play this for quite some time, haven't we? Ever since Shut Up and Sit Down wax lyrical about it. Mm-hmm. This is a board game from Luther Pellit, designed by Asger Harding Grunrud, and beautiful art by Ossi Hiekala and Jer Kassanen.
None of these will be pronounced in the correct way. Apologies to the designers and the artists.
It's a pre-doping cycling, Tour de France-esque cycling game where you are playing cards with numbers on them to denote how far your cyclist moves.
Right.
But the kicker is you only have a certain number of cards with certain numbers on them, and once you've played that card, you can't play it again. So you've got to think very tactically when you play that card.
Right.
So say if I've got my sprinter cyclist who has got 3 cards that are the number 9. Once I've played one of them, I've only got 2 left. So I've got to think about when's the right time for me to play that card, because I don't want to get to the point where I'm near the end of the game and I've got lots of low cards left and I've started off strong, but I'm lagging more and more behind.
Yeah.
Because there's this great mechanic in this game. And Pete, you probably experienced this when you were cycling. The slipstream mechanic.
Oh, all sorts of wind streams and...
where the curtains are just ruffling.
Yeah, tons of that.
So basically, this is a great thing. If you get too far ahead, you take an exhaustion card, which is a bit like the game Colt Express. So you pick up a card which has got a 2 on it, and you shuffle that into the deck, which you'll deal out to yourself later. So at some point, you're going to get that exhaustion card. So you're paying for that energy that you spent getting to the head of the pack.
Gotcha.
So what you want to do is you want to not be too far ahead. You equally don't want to be lagging behind, because obviously then you've got to put more effort in because you haven't got any slipstream to kind of capitalise on. So you want to be behind people directly. And if at the end of a round there is a gap of no more than 1 space between you and the other riders, you automatically all move forwards. So you all kind of pinch together. So you can actually chain it quite neatly depending on the cards you play. So I played this with Sam and Lisa, and there's this really interesting moment where you're trying to work out around the room, okay, what card is Sam going to play now based on where he is? Right. I don't want to play my 9 now, just in case he plays a 2, and I go off into the sunset, and I'm going to take an exhaustion card. But equally, if Sam plays his high card now, I don't want to be left behind either, because I'm still going to have to take an exhaustion card. And what makes it even more interesting is the fact that it's a variable board, so you've got like 6 or 7 different possible tracks, and you assemble the piece like a Scalextric set. And there's hills in it.
That's great.
And the hill's brilliant. It's so elegant because if you're going on a hill, the maximum you can travel is 5. You cannot travel more than 5. If you're going downhill, the minimum you'll travel is 5. So if you play a 2, you'll automatically go 5. So it's like you kind of relax and just take your feet off the pedals, and just the gravity will take you down the hill. But knowing when to play those cards is key. And and generally, it's been beautifully designed, this game, because you think, I'm running out of cards, and you always make it. Because even if you use up all your cards, you're still going to accrue enough exhaustion to get you past that finish line.
And it has just enough of what makes road race cycling exciting as well. Road race cycling is kind of one of those sports. Say, if you watch a Tour de France from the start, or you say you just just sit down and watch a whole like stage from start to finish, you understand a lot more about tactically how it works as a sport and how the teams work genuinely to help one person in the team through. So like by using aerodynamics and, you know, like wind resistance and like general tactics of how they move on through the stage, most teams operate in a way that they'll be working towards getting one rider in a position at the end of the race so one person can win it. And Flamme Rouge takes that as a mechanic and puts it into the board game. So as an experience, it makes it very even. You're never far behind for long and you're never far in front for too long either. Like,
right.
Because it's using those things like exhaustion cards and because it's using those things like slipstreaming, things that real cyclists do in road races, you as a player, you never feel like you're too far behind. You never feel like you're out of the running, and it keeps up, and that tension ramping goes on and on and on and on. The sort of the game that I closely resemble this to most is K2. Okay. And the reason why I prefer this over K2 is just that K2 there's death. Like you can literally just kill your character on the mountain if you're not careful about the cards you play. Whereas in Flamme Rouge, you just get a little bit exhausted if you get a little bit ahead of yourself. So you can easily sort of mitigate that part of your play because you realise, oh bloody hell, I'm getting exhausted, I better rest. But also that's a legitimate tactic that they use in road races. So one of your team will go ahead, therefore pulling the other players into that sprint, tiring them out. So your other members of the team get an easier ride, or maybe they can ride off the back of the slipstream of the team that are going ahead being pulled along by your front racer. So those little things that it does with the true tactics and true mechanics within road cycling put into a board game and using that theme and playing with it is exemplary. Like, I love it, and it's so simple.
Yeah, it's so simple, as you say, Sam, it's completely elegant. And in honour of you, Pete, because you've got this buildable track, I'm going to build and design a track that will be a homage to your Vienna cycle route that we did last year. And we'll call it the Willington Pass.
Yep.
And it will just be one big uphill and one big downhill.
Yeah.
Sam, thank you very much again for your Halloween gift, Until Dawn. Finished it. Very scary, very unnerving. There's something about choosing your own adventure that at the time, really, I found quite almost crippling. The analysis paralysis of it, really. I'm not a good decision maker, and as a consequence, I didn't do as well as you did in that game. And I thought I got shot of it. No, I didn't. Most of them did. I got a bit reckless. The last decision of the game, and this is not spoiling anything, last decision of the game, I got a little bit impatient and didn't realise that I wiped out all 5 of them, basically. I'd done so well. I'd done so well at that point. I'd been very cautious, very pensive, which again causes problems, which I didn't realise. But there was something about that choose your own adventure narrative that even though the game really, really unnerved me massively, like it still lingers with me, some of the images in that game are really, really horrific. It went into areas I didn't think it would go in terms of just these sinister kind of ideas. But then when I finished and I realised all those wrong turns I'd made, I thought, actually, I want to go back to this. I want to see what I would have done differently. But it was too late. I deleted the game until I went onto Netflix. What did I see before me but another choose your own adventure narrative? We're talking a Black Mirror, what's it called? A special events episodes? A one-off?
Well, they labelled it as Black Mirror, an interactive film, Bandersnatch.
Yes. Do we need to explain what it was? Because it's been heavily marketed and talked about.
I think it's worth it because I didn't really know all that much about it until a couple of days ago.
Well, I think that's the case for a lot of people. A couple of people I've spoken to, they've kind of, because they haven't seen it, and they've kind of said, "What is it? How does it even work?" It is a film. The basic story is probably about an hour, but it can go longer depending on how long.
40 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, depending on how long you play, it could be much shorter, it could be significantly longer. And it's a story that revolves around a young guy who has come up with the idea of creating a choose-your-own-adventure video game based on the book Bandersnatch. Now, my understanding in kind of real life, Bandersnatch was a game that was tried to be made or something like that. There is a history of a game called Bandersnatch, I think. I don't know details, but I'm sure I've heard that somewhere.
I don't know about that.
It sounds like a Lewis Carroll character.
But the story is basically about this guy developing this game and trying in the time frame of the show and the kind of the period of the show. It would have been a very old game, but it would have been kind of cutting edge in terms of games that didn't do this kind of thing before, and like branching narratives and different stories and all that chaz. So that's kind of the story plays out of him trying to create this game and actually kind of losing his mind almost as he plays it and as it's working against him. And I don't want to give too much away because the idea of it is that it kind of replicates within the story the book his game is based upon, Bandersnatch, and the author who also went a bit crazy trying to create the book of this Choose Your Own Adventure. So that's kind of the story, and then throughout the film, at various points, the action kind of freezes. It doesn't freeze, but kind of an option pops up on screen where you get to choose between two outcomes of what's going to happen next. What do you want the character to do? So it eases you into it at the very start. The boy comes downstairs, says hello to his dad, sits down at the kitchen table, and the dad says, "What do you want for breakfast? Sugar puffs or Frosties?" And a little bar comes up and says, "What do you want? What do you want?" And that's all that is to just tell you, okay, here's a completely innocuous topic, but this is what you're going to need to do. So there's nothing riding on this. I think all that matters is at one point an advert pops up for one of them elsewhere in the episode. That's all it is. And at another point you get to choose the music that he listens to on the bus, which then gives you the soundtrack going forward, and it kind of inflects in certain dialogue later on in it. And as it goes on, it kind of delves deeper into what's happening, his psyche, his paranoia, all this different stuff. And as I said, I don't want to go into too much detail because it would go into spoilers. I really enjoy it. I mean, I'm a big fan of Black Mirror anyway. I've watched all the episodes. I think when it first came out on Channel 4, I really enjoyed it because you could watch one episode a week. When it came out on Netflix, I kind of binged watched it a little bit, and it became too much because I was like, it's too heavy, it's too dark, I need a break from these. And me and my wife both had the same opinion that we literally took a break from it, and we went back to it probably like 8 or 9 months later, and then watched episodes slowly, kind of one at a time, and we loved it again then. And this kind of came out of the blue, I think, this episode, this Bandersnatch kind of interactive film. It did kind of come out of the blue, and it's not within any of the previous series. It is a standalone, but I really enjoyed it. I think I felt some flaws. I think it's kind of constrained by having this device of the interactive film, but I really loved some of the things that it does with the ideas and the story and kind of the areas it takes you. And there are certain classic kind of Charlie Brooker, the writer, classic Charlie Brookerisms that very much kind of as a nod to the audience and wink to the audience, and it kind of fits in with everything else that he's done. Kris, what did you think of it?
This piqued my curiosity just because there's a really interesting cast in this. You've got Fionn Whitehead, who was the lead in Dunkirk. You've got Will Poulter, who's a young actor that I also really, really like as well. And it had an interesting concept around it. You know, it's set in 1984, is it? If memory serves me correct. A decade I quite like in terms of the 80s, in terms of its music and things and its culture. And there's something very interesting about this premise of choosing your own adventure in this kind of medium, which, let's be honest, it's been around for a while in dribs and drabs. I mean, I'm not sure it was entirely successful. I think in some respects, Brooker, he's very savvy in terms of his knowledge of video games, but in terms of my experience of going from Until Dawn into this, it made me realise how much television could learn from video games in terms of how to construct this. Because there are certain moments which are just genius, where I think, and I'm not going to spoil what it is because you know what it is, Dan, that moment, it is wonderful, it is worth it just for that. But it took me 3 or 4 times to get there, and I didn't have Tom Cruise dying over and over again to keep me enjoying it and going back to it, like in Edge of Tomorrow, say, for example. Instead, I got frustration because the problem was with me, not with Tom Cruise, if you see what I mean.
I got an element of that. I got an element of that where I think, because I think there's about 6 endings.
Oh, I mean, somebody's done an infographic, IGN put it up, but I mean, at the end of it, me and Veronica got quite frustrated with it, and it's quite telling that there is an option where you can it just says cut to credits, and there's this kind of ambiguity. Is this an ending or have I failed? Because it does a very interesting thing if you fail, and this isn't really too much of a spoiler, but it cuts to his video game being reviewed.
Yeah, depending on how you end it, basically determines how good the game ends up being, depending on how that path goes through, which is kind of a way of documenting each of the endings kind of thing. As I said, I think I got to, because when you get to an ending, it does kind of give you that avenue to kind of go back into it and say, okay, well, let's try something different. Maybe let's go a different path. And I think I got to a third ending before I started thinking, I'm just watching and playing this to see endings now. I don't feel like I'm exploring the story anymore, which is at which point I stopped. I then kind of researched and found out what the other endings were, but I didn't go through it kind of organically that way.
No, because you'll start, and it happened to us, we just started looking at our watch, thinking, how long's this been going on for?
So to me, that whenever I've done a choose your own adventure, that's always a sign that something narratively isn't working. Because whenever I finished Heavy Rain or Until Dawn, I've always been really satisfied by how it's gone and gone, right, that's my story.
Yeah, same here.
What's just happened there is that's my story. But whenever I've played or used a bad choose your own adventure, so like when I had the books when I was a kid, all I was ever doing was, right, go to that page, or I'm not really happy with that, so I want to scroll back and I want to choose that, which is a sign to me as a player and as a story, and you know, as someone being interactive with the story, that the narrative isn't working because I'm not feeling fulfilled even when something doesn't go the way I'd hoped, if that makes sense. So like in Until Dawn, I messed up at one point and a character I really wanted to keep alive, I killed off. But because of the way it was done and how it fitted into that narrative, even though that decision I didn't like and I didn't want, and it took the story in a direction that I didn't want, I felt, fair enough, that's been well played in the narrative, so I'm happy with that decision and where it's gone.
I agree. I think if they'd made it a 30-minute episode, but you could not go back, and every outcome was always 30 minutes long, so that would make me want to go and rewatch it again and make a different choice. But the fact that I could pick and choose which bits I went back and forth on meant that I could have easily dragged this out to be 3 to 4 hours long if I wanted to.
It was. I think what it was missing was a defined end. So when you actually cut to credits, it comes up at the end. It's the end, directed by blah blah, written by Charlie Brooker, but all the full credits as you would usually see at the end of an episode. Now, if that had happened at the end of each ending, I would have known as a viewer, okay, this is the end. The way it was done, I didn't quite know, is this still part of it? Is this the end? So I've gone back into it, but I don't know, am I continuing to what I didn't quite... I think that's maybe there was where like an error, there was like an issue there. If it had just said, this is the end, I'd have been like, okay, well that's the end. If I want to watch it again and try more, I can go back into it, but that could be my thing. I think also comparing it to something like Until Dawn is a little bit tricky because with Until Dawn, you're in control of everything within reason. Whereas with something like this, because of the medium, you're just in control of about 7 or 8 decisions.
I was going to say, like, it feels like there's even less interactivity than like Night Trap and Dragon's Lair and like I don't know, like I've not seen it, but I kind of think like, isn't this, I don't know, this feels like a creative dead end, right? Like this feels like, I get why somebody would want to make a critique of a kind of game in the format that the game is in, right? So like critiquing interactive fiction by making interactive fiction, I can totally understand that, and like doing that as a one-off. But I guess I kind of like, I mean, do I think that Brooker's going to do like another one of these? Like, I hope not.
I think the reason this worked for me is for that exact reason. That the story made sense to do it in this form because it's about somebody creating choose your own adventure, and and it explores that whole idea of free will, of which way do you go and all that stuff. And that's why I don't think, looking at Black Mirror overall, he's not someone who gets something and then says, okay, I'm going to do that again. I'll do that again. He's done something and then, okay, I'm going to move on and do something completely different. Now, it doesn't mean to say he wouldn't.
Netflix want to do it again.
Well, Netflix have done it before, right?
Yeah, because they've...
But not with Charlie Brooker necessarily.
Sure. No, not saying with Charlie Brooker. I'm just saying I think Netflix have invested a lot into this technology because I think they're going to want to expand this. Maybe, like, playing really sort of hypothetically here, because what they did was that they took Minecraft story mode and basically have turned it into, taken out all the interactive gameplay that was part of the Telltale game and then just turned it into an interactive choose your own adventure game. And then came Bandersnatch. So obviously they're testing out the capabilities of the technology in their service to run this kind of stuff.
But the ironic thing is that my TV can't play this. Now, if you have a smart TV of a certain age, the only way I could play it on it is on a computer or on a console. So it really actually becomes something for those who can play video games. It's not... So in terms of trying to reach an audience that don't own a console, who want to have something interactive and gamey, they're not going to be able to actually physically run this.
But I think if that sort of gets ironed out in the future, which it probably will do, imagine if you had this implementation but stretched over a whole series of House of Cards, or stretched over a whole series of, something else, of Black Mirror, where each episode you're making just one decision or two decisions. As we've all said, like, this has all been done better in other ways.
Yeah.
For an audience that know it's done better in other ways. Netflix can't just be doing this because the audience that they're trying to capture know that there is a better product out there. So you've got to assume, therefore, that they're going to try and implement this into something new and create a new experience with it.
But I've not seen it done better in this medium.
How do you mean?
In this medium of an interactive film like this, I've not seen it done better than Bandersnatch.
In the mid-90s, when this kind of game was being made,
but this is this isn't a game. This is an interactive film. That's the
no, I
thing
know,
I'm
but for example, the Babe was loaded, and
Mark Hamill made tons of them.
Right, so there's a bunch
90s.
of interactive movie stuff that happened in the mid-90s that is close to this, but kind of a little bit more interactive. I can tell you, without watching Bandersnatch, that the acting in Bandersnatch and writing and effects will have been much, much better than the stuff that was in the mid-90s. From that angle, absolutely. But really, like, what you're describing is essentially a filmic version of a Steve Jackson and even Ian Livingstone Choose Your Own Adventure. Like, and has the interactive adventure been done mechanically better elsewhere? The answer is yes, absolutely. Yeah. In terms of the actual, like, very specific set of things, choices, kinds of choices that you can make, I'm sure this is probably the better of them. But I think it's mostly because video games have always tended to lean back more into, even with stuff like Dragon's Lair, like, you had to press up to make the character jump, even though what you were watching was a film, and basically you pressing up was just, okay, play the next scene, rather than play the fail state scene. Like, video games have never gone as twine interactive story as Bandersnatch is.
Tell you what, though, a thing that has done it better, which is the closest thing that Bandersnatch reminds me of, is Hidden Agenda. Something where we were very static and just literally we watched a scene, we pressed an option, we watch another scene. Like, that to me is the closest I've seen, and it did it better.
But there's still more mechanics in that game, right? There's still that element of social deduction.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah. But in terms of presentation, it was...
And I'd say, as Kris alluded to, I don't want to give away spoilers and stuff, but there are certain reasons why this story fits so well with this medium, because of the ideas that it's looking at and stuff like that. That's it. It's because it's the best way of telling this story, as opposed to just applying this story to this mechanic. This mechanic is the best way to tell this story, and that's I think the difference.
I think the biggest thing this thing has actually achieved is this is the single most talked about game of a very long time in terms of its art, in terms of what it achieves artistically. I can't think of many video games in the last 12 months that have had this level of general public discussion about essentially a game. We got a question, guys. We've got another question.
With it being a new year, have the kind of the rules changed in terms of how people get in touch?
No, they're still at Staying In Pod on Facebook, at Staying In Pod on Twitter. I think they're all the same. stayinginpod@gmail.com.
And now #StayingInPod Charity Miles.
Charity Miles.
You can't send us questions through that, but
you can send support and love. So we had a question, and it is from at Mantis Matt.
Oh,
hello,
I know
Matthew.
him.
So he says, I'm pushing 40 in January and considering my bucket list. Have you chaps got any desires you need fulfilling before a certain age?
That sounds as if he's offering his services. Is there anything I can help you with?
It's like he's sort of saying, I'm pushing 40 in January, and lads, I'm open for business. So
Sam, do you still need a butler for that honeymoon?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we could.
Oh, that'd be great.
That'd be good fun, wouldn't it? Get Matt in. Desires before a certain age.
It's difficult on this, isn't it?
What do I want to do by the time? So by the time I'm pushing 40 in January. That's what Matt says. So what about by the time we're 40? What do we want to have done? What's one thing we want to have done by the time that we're 40? I tell you what, an easy one, because I want to do the easy one. I want to have done all of the mountains, all the highest mountains in the UK. There you go.
Good one. That is a good bucket list item.
And then K2.
Yep, straight to K2.
I'd like to run a marathon before I'm 40. Definitely.
Okay.
I've already done half, so
yeah, you can't put them together though. That's the you can't just do two halves. These are very exercise-focused achievements.
All right, okay. I also need to complete Metal Gear Solid 5 at some point.
Oh, well, that will take you to 40.
Yeah, marathon's probably easier. The only ones I could think of were kind of like location-based, of wanting to visit places and stuff like that.
Where would you like to visit,
Yeah,
Dan?
where would you want to go, man?
I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to stay in a fancy hotel in New York.
Woo.
I think because I've always wanted to go to New York. So me and my wife, we've always wanted to go to New York, and I think I'd want to do it and do it right, and just kind of spend a load of money and stay in a really fancy hotel. It wouldn't be for long, just for a few days. I wouldn't need to be there for too long, but just I think that's what I'd love to do.
That is a really good one.
I've got another one, actually. All
right, we'll
travel first class, and that can be train or plane.
Well, train's easy. You just need to pay a little bit extra.
Dan.
Oh yeah,
no.
but yeah.
Yeah, but still. But plane is easy. You just pay a little bit extra.
No, you pay a lot extra.
What about you, Chris? Come on, give us a list.
I've always wanted to go hiking through Bavaria. Because there's this beautiful, nestled in these forests there, you've got these beautiful Germanic castles and things. Yeah. I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Well, all you need to do, Chris, is to get married and make me your best man. And that's it. Done.
Oh.
I think, Chris, just get married to Sam and I think you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Better hurry.
I want to do a long-distance train journey, like the Trans-Siberian National Railway.
Oh, yeah, that'd be fun.
That's a good one. I did enjoy our European train.
I mean, I'd love to take my partner to New Zealand, because that's my favourite country on the planet, and the pleasure of waking up on a mountainside and watching the sunrise.
Or going to the toilet.
Bliss.
Yeah.
With the door open. You know, you can't. You can't replicate moments.
Taking a leaf out of the Book of Wellington.
That's one of your greatest achievements, isn't it, Chris? I would say.
Yeah.
I tell you what. One thing I genuinely love to do before I'm 40, because I always go on about it, and I've got a notes list in my phone which is getting exceedingly long, is to actually
finish XCOM.
No, is to, even though bloody hell that list is,
I was going to say that list is very, very long,
because I just kill people off and create more. But no, my is to finally create one of the board games or card games that I've thought about creating for a long, long time. Because some of them I think would be relatively easy to design and do, but I always just put it off. So
well, let's not put it off. Let's do all of these things.
We will do.
All right.
Good. I see none of us had any. What are the traditional bucket list things, like swim with dolphins, bungee jump?
Yeah, swim with dolphins, brackets, which is incredibly cruel. Do a bungee jump. I'm not handing over my life to a person who has chosen bungee jump coordinator as a career path.
Oh, I'd love to do that. I'd like to do bungee jumping or skydiving.
Why? Bungee. Yeah, do bungee jumping. So you can detach your retinas.
I'll close my eyes.
I've scuba dived at the Great Barrier Reef. That's one of the bucket list ones.
Have you done that?
Yeah.
Okay, well...
I wasn't on the episode of this show where you guys said, have you scuba dived? Yeah. Went to a swimming pool. I was at home listening going, what? That's not scuba diving.
But, I mean, it's interesting that none of us chose super geeky stuff. Like, win a magic tournament.
Win a magic tournament?
Yeah, no, as in Magic the Gathering tournament, not like Paul Daniels.
He's a rabbit.
I've got some great ideas here from a website for good bucket list stuff. So there's great ones like capture lightning in a photo.
Oh, come on.
Go horseback riding and swim with horses.
Wait. Hold on. That's
go on a horse-drawn sleigh ride.
No, can we go back to to swimming with horses?
Nope.
This is from a horse magazine.
Yeah. Enjoy the beautiful nuzzling of a horse.
And I love the description of this one. It's not ride. It's not, play, wash, or do anything. Hang out with elephants. Just,
Sup, guys?
I also like number 49 and 50. 49 is run the name of marathon, and 50 is run the New York Marathon.
For God's sake. You'd just choose the New York Marathon and then take off 49 and 50, wouldn't you? Just like if you were being efficient about it.
Swim with dolphins, swim in bioluminescent water, climb a rock wall, cut down my own Christmas tree, do a retreat.
Do a retreat? What, like?
Walk backwards.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. Like,
into your house.
Yeah.
From an awkward conversation.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Walk into Pete's living room, find him cycling, and just make a quick retreat.
Yeah. Like, oh, hello.
Right, here we go. The bucket list for personal and family goals. So here you go, Matt. Here are some good things that you can put
Here we go.
On your list.
Get the notepad out.
Become an early riser. Right? Make your own beer.
Yeah?
Chop off your hair. You might want to do the next one before that. Try a strange coloured hair.
Yeah.
Done that.
Number 4, and this is on a list of bucket list stuff, right? Bucket list, things to do before you die. Once, at least once.
Yeah.
Clean up after myself.
There you go, Matt. Matt, chuck that on the list. A little victory.
That was Staying In with Sam Turner, Peter Willington, Dan Frost and myself, Kris Darby. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to leave a review too, we'd be really chuffed to bits. For those of you who want to get fit this year and do so for a good cause, come and join our team. Just head to your friendly app store and download Charity Miles for your mobile telephone. Look for us in the app at #StayingInPod. Thanks for listening.